Today we've flown all the way to North Carolina to test drive the latest from Subaru. This is, of course, the 2019 Subaru Forester.
There are several trims available, from the $25,000 base all the way to the $35,000 Touring. In this video, we're going to focus on the new Sport model. It features a number of blacked out details, orange trim, and 18-inch wheels. It also has an exclusive S-Sharp SI drive mode. Every trim of the new Forester is equipped with the same 2.5-liter four-cylinder boxer motor, called the FB25. This new mill has 12-to-1 compression and puts out 182 horsepower and 176 pound-feet of torque to all four wheels through a revised, constantly variable transmission. The new Forester also has one rather surprising feature.
For the first time, Subaru will allow you to put a tent on the top without voiding your warranty.
They know their buyers have been doing this anyhow. This was an issue not because the Forester couldn't support the weight, but because Subaru had not verified the safety of the setup. Well, now they have, so you can add a tent of your choosing. The automatic rear door opens faster than the previous model. It also has a wider opening and a larger cargo area. 76.1 cubic feet total with the seats down. A cargo screen can be pulled out from its storage under the floor for added security. The wheelbase of the new Forester has grown by more than an inch, giving more room to second-row passengers. They also get two USB power sockets. These are all very good practical updates, but the biggest surprise is up front.
Inside the Forester, you really wouldn't even recognize it. I mean, it's so much more modern than even just last year's model. We have all this sculpted plastics with this contrast stitching, and this seat is actually really comfortable. I like it. It's supportive on the side. I have lots of options here electronically to set up how I want it to feel, including an electronic lumbar. Ooh, yeah, that's nice right there. And then the steering wheel also extends as well as tilts. I mean, really, you can get super comfortable in this car, and that is fantastic. The model that we're in right now is the Forester Sport, and this one has lots of, I guess, sporty accents. Everything from the contrast stitching up here on the dash, which are carried through to the seats, to this large orange surround on the gear selector that also has the massive X mode feature front and center. Now, it's interesting, X mode originated as a small button. Now it's migrated to this massive dial. It really tells you front and center that they expect you to do a little off-roading with this vehicle, or at least venture off the more common routes. And then we have all these buttons, and I have to say Subaru is still a little fussy with the buttons.
They give access to some very useful features, like adaptive cruise control, which is now standard since Subaru is including eyesight on all trim levels. It also has a toggle for the eyeline info screen. This provides access to all sorts of information, from weather to trip data.
The I button here really doesn't do much. It just toggles between a few little info bits up on the top. The vehicle also comes with paddle shifters, and they feel pretty good. For being little plastic jobs, they actually fall to hand nicely, and they have a nice positive click. Of course, the big highlight here is the touchscreen navigation system. This is a big, beautiful system. They've had it for a couple generations now. The Impreza was the first one to have it, and it has had a lot of bugs worked out since that first version. But it is pretty, it is big, and it is very responsive. There is no navigation in this Sport trim. You have to go up a couple trim levels, but I do have access to maps via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which personally is how I would do it anyway. For those of you using AHA, that is an option. And of course, when you switch it into reverse, you get a big, bold camera. And this car doesn't just have a big backup camera, it also has parking alerts for the back with those little parking sonars. And then it also has rear automatic braking. It tells me right now that that is on. If I back up and there's a pole in the way, it'll slam the brakes on for me. So far, the looks on this vehicle, I'm not 100% with. It looks a little too much like a car. I kind of wish they went more aggressive a la 4Runner. But, you know, maybe it'll grow on me. That's usually what I end up saying after most Subaru design revisions. This one's probably no different. So enough jabbering, let's go ahead and take this out and see what you can do here in North Carolina. Oh, but first, somebody's got to take that tent off. With this new Forester, Subaru really wanted to address a few of the concerns that existing owners had with the vehicle. First off, it was a little loud compared to other competitors. They also wanted to improve the handling. And the third item they wanted to address was, of course, safety. Add up those three things, and that means you need a new platform. So, of course, Subaru has moved the Forester to their new global architecture. The result is a vehicle that handles a lot better, it's a lot quieter on the road, and they also tell me it's improved safety. But we're not going to test the collision impact zones today. No, we're going to skip that part. In terms of safety, there's a lot more that goes into it these days than just making a chassis that can take impacts better. Active safety is the key word, and all Foresters come standard with eyesight now, and they all get the same fancy eyesight. There's no trimmed down version for a base model. So which model are we in today? Well, we're driving the Sport. This one has a few extra things going for it that you won't find in a standard premium or limited model. It has things like Sport Sharp on the SI drive. Let's go ahead and activate that and see what it does. It gives me a little graph that says that the throttle mapping is more aggressive. Yes, I can feel that a little bit. And the paddle shifters put it into a stepped drive mode. And those shift points are going to be more aggressive. Now, does this handle like a sports car? No, it doesn't. You know, the engine here is significantly revised. It has a little bit more horsepower versus the old model, 182 currently, and I think about 176 pound-feet of torque. It's a capable driver. It's not blisteringly quick by any method. Makes a little bit of whine. That's interesting. One of the other benefits of a chassis like this is, of course, improved roll control. As we go through the corners here, the vehicle doesn't wallow. It's not like driving a phone booth anymore. It actually cuts through those corners pretty good, which is especially interesting considering it's got 8.7 inches of ground clearance. We are rocking the high waters, but we're not like all over the place, which is kind of nice. Good job. Now, as I'm going through the corners, another thing that's happening here is active torque vectoring. Now, we talked about that in our Impreza review, and what that does is it breaks the inside front wheel to help rotate the vehicle around corners. It's a very slight thing. It's not like you feel it. It's not like there's any jarring braking happening. It's subtle and behind the scenes. But what it does is it gives you improved tracking through the corners. That's a really tight corner as you throttle out. It makes the handling more dynamic and, frankly, better. Software, what can it do for you? I have to say, one thing really surprising with this car, the noise, vibration, and harshness, the NVH, the one thing no car makers want to have happen, the thing that separates luxury from regular cheapo cars, and the thing that's the hardest thing to control because you can always add more weight, but then that affects performance and mileage and all that other stuff. That's why Lexus can get away with having super heavy cars, but they're really quiet. This still maintains, it's still a light chassis, but they've done such a good job with the new metals and the structure and just all the little details. It absorbs sounds in a way that makes it really comfortable to drive. I mean, all I'm really hearing here is the engine and then maybe the tires, like right there, you can hear the tires. Of course, with this improved on-road handling, you might think that the Forester has forgotten about its off-road roots. Well, no, it hasn't. It still has 8.7 inches of ground clearance, which is best in class. I mean, if you can't have ground clearance, you have no business going off-road. Some of those crossovers, like, I'm looking at you, RAV4, that have the ground clearance of a Camry, yeah, that's not okay. That's not okay. So it is sadness. I think we should give a moment of silence for the demise of the Turbo Forester. There is not currently one in the 2019 slate. Of course, that doesn't mean that they can't come out with an STI-based Forester. But for right now, silence. Deep snow mud. X mode engaged. So here we are now taking the Forester into its native habitat. A dirt road, the forest, the wilds of North Carolina.
This course is ridiculously easy. So easy, we're putting in a request with Subaru so we can film a proper off-road evaluation later this year.
Oh, we have somebody standing in a field. Corn. Good afternoon. Is this for me to test the hill descent control system?
Indeed.
Okay, where did that button move to? Oh, I've already did it into dirt mode. We already have hill descent on, so it's all automatic.
So what we're gonna have you do now is just let the car just idle over. Don't touch the gas. Keep your feet on the floor, no pedals. Let the car work it out.
So what you're telling me is it works just like every other hill descent system on the planet.
This one's a little bit better.
Oh, better, okay. I'm talking about the process. Okay, here we go. So I'm gonna take my foot off the brake and off the gas, and we're just gonna let it ease down all by itself. Now, one thing I am curious is if these paddles will do anything. No, they don't do anything. I always like that, like in the Jeep when you can go up and down that way. It seems like I'm going a little faster than I would like. Oh, it's doing that like auto magic braking, all the corners doing their own thing. Very nice. Super easy. Could I have done that with regular brakes? Yeah, probably, but that was just easier. And honestly, the nice thing about it is that somebody who is inexperienced and approaches a decline like that, they're not gonna have to tap their experience. They'll just be like, oh, I just hit the button and I go down and the car will do it for me. So it gives that confidence to somebody who may not be a seasoned off-roader. This is very slippery. The grass is slippery for one. It's also like this muddy kind of stuff right underneath it, but it's not really that difficult. In fact, yeah, that wasn't that hard at all.
In closing, this Forester Sport is very good in many ways. It's quiet, comfortable, and economical, getting up to 33 miles to the gallon on the highway with standard all-wheel drive. That's better than a lot of the competition's front-wheel drive models. The addition of Sport Sharp is a nice idea, but even more aggressive throttle mapping can't change the fact that this is a slow vehicle, almost 10 seconds 0 to 60 slow. For buyers that want something more fun to drive in this class, a turbocharged Honda CR-V might be a better option. But if safety, comfort, and capability are priorities versus sheer acceleration, this new Forester is a fantastic option.
For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, leave a comment. We read them all. See you next time.